One down, 4 to go.
All right. Answers by guess. What up there, guess?
Yeah.
Hello there, friend. First snow game. I was so happy to see
It was
snow
great.
and football.
Rejuvenated us. Can you tell?
Oh my God, it made me so happy to see it. I'm just
It was
sharing us.
wonderful.
That's why I'm looking down real quick. Give me 1 second. But guys, we are up to week 12. Holy moly guacamole. Answers by guess. Inside scoop from outside the box. Remember, guys, like us on Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, X, and Patreon. Always on Spotify as well. Always look for those hashtags. Answers by guess and ABGFF. Like I said, dude, unbelievable game. Cleveland, you saw it. They play well against them. We say it all the time that Cleveland plays well against them. It just Winston was on a different level. I felt like I think he helped his team, and Jerry Jeudy, him, they have a nice connection. What did you like about the game?
Yeah, I had Cleveland. I had a feeling they were going to pull it out. I had Calvin Austin over his yards.
Nice.
But otherwise, it was losses. I thought that we had seen better days from Nick Chubb. I was basing it off of week 11.
Yep.
But I guess he was just sort of shaking the rust off because he looked pretty good. So I threw some plays on Jerome Ford, had him over receiving yards. He was sort of the receiving back week 11, and I had him over 5.5 carries, and he wound up with 4. I was surprised with the snow and everything else, but especially the first time they gave it to Jerome Ford, he got 10 yards, was busting through people. The crowd was going nuts. I was like, yeah, that's good to see. And they never got another carry the rest of the half. And he got 3 in the second half. And I was like, this sucks. But 'tis what it is. It was great to see the snow. I was happy for Mr. Winston. After the mistake he made, then getting the ball back and leading them down for the game-winning score. And that leads us into where we are, the beginning of the end, right? I talk so much about the 4 quarters of a football season. Well, let's break it into thirds. We're in the final third here.
Very true. And a bye-mageddon at it. Week 12, we got 6 teams on by: Atlanta Falcons, Buffalo Bills, Cincinnati Bengals, Jacksonville Jaguars, New Orleans Saints, and my New York Jets. I'm tired of calling them my New York Jets, by the way. I think I'm going to call them the New York Jets now. Yeah, because feelings are always constantly.
Don't associate yourself.
But anyways, if you have any players from those teams, make sure they get the heck out of your lineups. Yes, I'm still doing it in quarters because you know what? We're up to week 12, which means what? ABG 3P.
Interesting.
Proposition.
You throw these at me, I got no clue that they're coming. I like it.
Oh, yeah.
Just one thing real quick. The bite-mageddon is like a universal term now. Now, I don't believe I came up with it. I know that I heard it somewhere. But now I feel like everywhere is calling it bite-mageddon, and it, rightly so. That's what it is. And this is part 1, and in a couple of weeks we'll get part 2. So
I don't like it at the end of the season, to be honest with you. We've talked about it constantly. That doesn't make any sense. I understand not doing it week 13 because of Thanksgiving, all the games being spread out.
Right.
Understandable from that aspect. But week 8 situation, throw 2 of these teams from each of this week, make it 4 teams. It makes it so much easier. It's the NFL. But like I said, ABG 3P, propositions, preparations.
Interesting. Was not ready for this. Let's get it.
No, guess was not ready, which makes me even happier because the first game on my list, 2 teams coming off of buys, Tampa Bay Bucks at the New York Giants. Giants obviously in the news as far as Daniel Jones is gone. They took him away as far as starting position. Now he's actually off the team. I'm not sure if he cleared waivers or not, but supposedly links to Dallas is out there. Would be very interesting if he goes there and sees them on Thanksgiving. But anyways, starting with somebody who's coming back off of an injury. Mike Evans, over under 3.5 receptions. Does he get the Puka Nacua vibe coming in where Tampa Bay's still been playing some good offense, but needs some wins if they're going to try to make a run?
Yeah, I saw him walk through the doors of, I believe, is it still called Raymond James Stadium? I'm not sure if it is, but I saw him walk through those doors. Baker handed him a gift. He opened it up. Inside was a bib. And he said, "Get ready, Mike. I'm about to feed you."
I
We're
love
going over. We're going way over. His yardage prop is one that I grabbed earlier in the week. It was at 50.5. I have no clue what it is right now. I'm going to imagine it's somewhere over 55 and a half. Now, it is going to be windy.
55.5. Good call.
It is going to be windy.
Correct. Wind will
So that will affect some things for sure. But he can run those close routes. Not everything's a deep ball with Evans. And he's Baker's yearning for some Mike Evans. So I think this is the easy one. There will be wind gusts, but this isn't going to be a game like we saw a few years ago. I think it was the Patriots where Bill Belichick threw the ball, I think a total of like 7 times. And that was super windy and other extra precipitation and whatnot. So he'll be just fine. He's going to get over 3.5, and I'm putting him in the lineup. Could be some short fields. I know that the Bucks are a sieve in the secondary, but it's Mr. Cutlets, and he had a good first week last year, and I went back and I looked at his stats once he was named the starter. I was hoping it would be Drew Lock, but they love him and they want to fill the seats, so they got to give the fans what they want, Mr. DeVito. So they probably figured Drew Lock's not going to do it. Yeah, but interesting. But of course, his stats from his first start last year to his second, I think it went from like 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, to like 1 touchdown, 1 interception. And his third one was like 0 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. So he could start off hot again. It is the secondary to do it against. And if he does, then that's good things for the Mike Evans over 3.5. And if he doesn't, then it's going to be some short field, so it's going to help as well. So I like Mike Evans on your prop of 3.5 that we had as the first ABG 3P. And I like his over still at 55. Again, I took it at 50.5 this week, earlier in the week. And it's a good one. It's a good one. Baker gave him a bib and said, "Get ready. I'm feeding you."
I love it. And as you were saying, I had to throw it up there just because you had mentioned it. You had gone into it. Tommy DeVito obviously taken over. I agree. They said it was going to be Drew Lock. Even Drew Lock was like, I came in here as the QB2. Not sure why that's happening. Unfortunately, I hate to think this way, but it thinks they want to continue to lose to be able to keep the better draft pick and then see where we go from here. Do we see a Sanders type of move and try to block the Cowboys from maybe doing the same thing? So Tommy DeVito, though, over under 178.5 passing yards. As you mentioned, he hasn't been half bad when he has to chuck the ball.
Yeah, again, it is going to be windy. It's going to affect a few things, but it's not going to be a worst case. The winds could get up to 20. Hopefully that dies down a little bit by tomorrow. That seems like such a low number of 178.5. Something is telling me to stay under, though, here. Put him at like 165. He's going to use his legs. We saw that last year. And, worst case scenario, if he absolutely stinks, they'll throw Lock in, and that's just going to help with the under here. So I'm going to take the under. I think they try and take the ball out of his hands as much as possible. And a lot of their passing work. I mean, Slayton, I think, is going to play, but with the wins and his deep threat ability, I don't see DeVito trying to make those throws too much. So I think they'll try and get Tracy going as much as possible. So I'm going to go under. I'm going to say he hits like 165. He's also got probably 35 rushing in there. And he might get a touchdown of each, which makes him a fine super flex play if you need it.
And Slayton is playing, and it sounds like also Neighbors is playing as well. Yep. All right, going on to the next game here. Guys, we see your questions. We're going to go through a couple games, and then we'll jump into the questions that are live here. All right, Detroit Lions at the Indianapolis Colts. Over under Sam Laporta. I thought this was a little low, 34.5 receiving yards. I feel like I'm taking the over on this one. Did miss last game, but this offense just seems to be exploding in all levels. Goff looked back to Goff last week, and then inside at the Colts, Goff does play better inside. Do you see Sam getting this?
Yeah, well, we called the Goff, right? We said at home, this is where he shines, and at least they're on turf in this one. The Lions, Colts have been a sneaky good defense. I actually just picked them up in the ABG league. Their schedule is really good towards the end of the year. And if Richardson can keep playing relatively mistake-free football, he'll continue to get better. If he can continue to improve his accuracy, I think the Colts are a nice sleeper defense that are probably sitting out there on the waivers. So if you're in a playoff run, there's somebody to grab. But back to this, I think that the Colts being at home, and if Richardson continues that progression that we saw last week, that you and I both called, by the way. We both saw
against
that
my
coming.
Jets, dude. Yeah, 100%.
I think that Detroit will have to. Now, Detroit has, what I was thinking? Jameson Williams, you know who he reminds me of? And it's not so much exactly, but the type of player he is. It's like a Deshaun Jackson. It's always that one big play in the game. He's always good for it. And I think last week I sort of said, Jameson Williams, he probably will catch one big long one for a touchdown. He almost should have had one week 10, which kept him from being productive week 10. So it's every single week he's got that in him. Now, if the Colts do what they can to prevent that, it's going to necessitate more Laporta. You said this number seems low. Well, that's probably what he's totaled over the past 2 weeks he's played. So I'm going to go under. I'd be finding a different option. Dare I even say your boy Disley would be somebody, because if you own a Laporta, chances are your backup, if you have two tight ends, is somebody you grabbed off of waiver wires. Disley or Jonnu this week, I would play over Laporta. Now, me saying this, he'll probably go off. But I just think that they'll be able to do enough with their two running backs. And this is a beautiful game for Amon-Ra St. Brown, the type of defense the Colts run. And Jameson is going to make his one splash. It's what he does every week, just like Deshaun Jackson used to do back in the day. It just is at the point where they don't really need to rely on Laporta like they were last year, especially early on in the year. So I'm going to go under with this one.
Run game helps that situation as well, especially having Montgomery being able to push it up the gut. I agree with you on that. All right. Let's go here. Next, Indianapolis Colts side, over under Josh Downs, 9.65 fantasy points, half PPR. Been going over 60 yards. I want to say about 4 or 5 catches a game, even a high maybe of 7 recently. He just keeps on getting it done. And like you said, Anthony Richardson played a lot better last week against the Jets defense. That's top defense. Look like crap. But anyways, what do you think as far as Downs with the other guys around him as well?
Fool's gold is what you called the Jets a few weeks ago.
Am I right or am I right?
You're right. And this is going over. It's a relatively low number, half PPR. The Lions secondary is where they struggle the most. They're really good at stopping the run. It's going to be a tough game for Taylor, but the good thing for Taylor is that Detroit has to worry about a running quarterback as well. But their secondary struggles, and Downs is certainly his favorite option. Early in the season when Downs was out, it was Pierce, but he's going to go over 10 points. So we'll do over right here.
All right, let's get through one more game, and then we'll get into those questions, guys. Titans at the Houston Texans. Over under Tony Pollard, 79.5. Thought this was a little high. Didn't have a great game last week. Titans, obviously, their offense isn't there, but their defense plays pretty okay. Do you think Tony Pollard will have a game where Houston does give up some points as far as the secondary, and maybe they can move the ball a little bit? Is Tony Pollard somebody that can rack up these yards against the Texans defense?
Yeah, I'll go over because it's total. It's rushing and receiving, and Spears is out. So the Texans have a really above average rush defense. Their secondary isn't too bad either. So I think that he'll be able to hit them both. for around at least 40 to 45 each, which will get us to this number. So I'll go over for Pollard.
All right.
And Will Levis was good enough in a couple weeks now, it seems, right? So
a few games, man. Definitely putting up over 20 points, at least in our leagues.
I think he'll be able to do enough through the air that'll allow Pollard a little bit of space on the ground. So I'm fine with the over.
Yeah, I'm looking at Ridley as well. I know he had a down week last week, but ebbs and flows tell me that this could be a good game for him. All right. On the flip side, huge touchdown last week, taken back. Nico Collins coming back off the injury. What a way to start it off, to be like, oh, man. And then it was the Mixon show, obviously. What are you thinking over under Nico Collins, 5.5 receptions?
I'll go over.
Wide receiver core over there.
Yeah, I'll go over. I like that Mechie's coming on. The first play of the game, they went to Nico last week. Was called back by the penalty. Took that screen basically to the house. The Titans, again, we've talked about it for like 5-6 weeks now. They're I don't want to say sneaky, but I don't know. I guess defense is better than we thought. But really, to me, it seemed like their numbers were inflated or deflated because they hadn't really had to do much because teams were just jumping out to a lead and then just running the clock out. But now they've been in the games a couple and they've been playing all right. And I think they'll be able to do enough on offense that Houston will need to throw the ball. The Titans have a better rush defense than their secondary, so 5.5 doesn't seem too. I think half a dozen is easy.
All right, let's get into some of these questions here. Thank you guys for watching. David Rios with the question: Tracy, Kyren, Flowers, and Swift PPR pick 3.
I think I'm going to sit Swift. Because he's banged up going into this, and Roschon played amazing last week, and Minnesota's got a really good rush defense, and I think they'll be able to throw downfield a little bit more against Minnesota rather than try and run. They'll use Roschon. And I don't know if they're going to push Swift too much. So I'm going to go with the first 3. Flowers has a tough matchup, but that's the Monday Night Magic with the Chargers. And I'm definitely playing Tracy and Kyren, even though Kyren's going against the Eagles.
All right. Ron T here. If you haven't subscribed, but make sure to hit that subscribe and also follow us on Facebook. We have a Facebook group. Evening Fellas need to standard format SF, PPR, Neighbors, MHJ, McConkey, or Kareem Hunt. Start 2, I guess.
Oh my gosh.
2 flex.
I kind of like all 4.
Yeah.
Now
McConkey being banged up makes me a little bit more concerned there.
Right. But what he also has going for him is Monday Night Magic and the Ravens secondary. And Justin Herbert's on fire right now. But I definitely have to play Kareem Hunt. No Pacheco. I said earlier in the week, somebody was asking a question about him. I'm like, listen, even if Pacheco plays, I don't think you use him this week because they're playing Carolina. They don't really need to push him too much. You might see 5 or 6 touches, and lo and behold, they're going to hold him out anyways, and rightly so. So Hunt's going to have at least one more week to continue to do what he's doing, and he's doing against Carolina. So I feel like you have to have him in the lineup. Now, Marvin Harrison going against Seattle seems like a good matchup, and it could be a little bit of a back and forth game. But if I'm Seattle, he's the one that I'm looking to take out. And teams have been able to do that, and almost, I don't know, but like almost like getting his head where he drops passes and his routes aren't as crisp. So I think what we're going to do here, it stinks because I just said DeVito would be under the yards, and it's going to be windy there. I'm definitely playing Hunt, and I think I might hold out and just use McConkey, to be honest. I think I'm going to hold out and go Monday night, and worst case scenario, maybe I pick up Palmer on waivers if he happens to not go, which I think he will.
It seems like he's trending that way.
Yeah, so I think that's what I would do, which is crazy because you look at those two names, and then you look at Neighbors and Marvin Harrison Jr. and
Tough
10,
bench.
10 weeks ago, it's Neighbors and Marvin Harrison Jr., no question. But I just think that the Monday night situation versus terrible secondary and the one last hurrah for Kareem Hunt is where I would go. Neighbors is close to McConkey, but the wind and DeVito just lowers it just a little bit for me.
All right. What's up there, Braden? Gentlemen, haven't joined live in a while. How you been? We're doing great, man. Thank you for joining. We appreciate you. Remember, guys, always like, comment, and share. We appreciate every single one of you. Going to take Justin's question, jump into a couple games, and then we'll go back into the next Justin's question. All right. Any chance you would start Hunt over CMC without Purdy, or is that overthinking?
I don't think it's overthinking, Justin. I think it's valid. Now, CMC without Purdy, will it hurt? Yeah, but CMC, what it's going to come down to, Brandon Allen, right? Is he the Allen that's the quarterback for them? I always get confused with
Brandon Allen.
Yeah, and I don't think he's played in a game in 2-3 years. And
correct.
He's going against Green Bay, and that defense is for real this year. And they're a team that has not been able to beat the Niners. This is well documented here and everywhere else. Justin, if it's your first time watching, please hope we help you out. You like, you subscribe, all that. But I'm a Green Bay Packers fan, and so I typically have a pretty good feel about them more than others. Now, CMC is the type of back traditionally that would hurt them. He seems a little slow out of the box, but this could be a shake the rust off first couple, and now he's set for it. But with the quarterback situation that they have, I think that they'll be able to do much better than they would have against Brock, because Brock, they held him in San Francisco for 3 quarters, and then he just lit him up that fourth, and CMC was a part of that. I think I might play Hunt, to be honest. They're going to do everything to get Hunt going, and Hunt knows that this is just about it for him. I'd be fine with that. I really would. I don't think it's overthinking. I think it would be a smart play, but CMC is going to be a focal point of their offense. They're going to look to dump the balls off to him, get the ball out of Allen's hands quick. Kittle's going to play, which is going to help. You might see a few runs from Debo, who did nothing last week. Quick, short passes. If they can move the ball, he'll be able to produce. But I think, honestly, depending on my matchup, I would be okay playing Hunt over CMC this week.
All right. I like it, man. All right, let's jump back into some games, and then we'll take some more questions. All right. New England Patriots at the Miami Dolphins. Over under Drake May, 1.5 passing touchdowns. Had 2 last game. Was looking actually pretty good with Bourne. You had Colt Henry. I want to say I think Henry had an opportunity in the red zone, if I'm not mistaken, but didn't get it. But then, again, had some yardage. So what are you thinking as far as Drake May? Can he do something against this Miami Dolphins defense that seems to be giving up some points, even to somebody like the Raiders last week?
Yeah, I thought they'd be a little better than they were last week. They were still okay. I'm going to go over. I think Henry's going to get one this week. It's been a while. It's been too long for Hunter Henry to not have a TD, which means he only needs one other one. And with Bourne and Douglas does everything and then is forgotten.
I don't understand it. We talk about it all the time. Ebbs and flows, man.
I'm going to say 1 to Henry and 1 to Ramondre.
Ooh, I like it. All right, on the flip side, Devon Achane, 65.5 rushing yards. Seems to beat this every single week. Thought it was a little low, to be honest with you. But total yards they had, I think it was like almost 89.5 or something like that. He is in the pass game, as we know. Dolphins, again, their offense seems to work better when he's going. So do you see him reaching this?
That's a good number. I got a feeling he's hit that rushing yards, but he for a few weeks, I want to say like weeks 8, 9, and 10, especially the passing game, was really where he was excelling. They might have had a bye in 8, 9, or 10, but you know what I mean. The 3 before last week. I'm gonna go over. But I do, you know who I like in this one? Tyreek.
Ooh.
I feel like they're about ready to pop. I feel like the chemistry was starting to come back last week. His first week back 2 weeks ago, it clearly wasn't there. He got the one like short little fluky touchdown. But I think Tyreek's about to have a really big week this week. So hopefully if he's somebody that you've sort of been relaxing on, feeling like you have to, I think this is a have to week. They're at home, division game. I know the Patriots aren't, but they're on the same level as Miami this year. So this is going to be a relatively close game. And I like Tyreek a lot in this one. Last week, Jonnu got 2. I wouldn't be surprised if Tyreek got 2 this week.
All right, going on to the next one here. Dallas Cowboys at the Washington Commanders. Yes or no? Terry McLaurin, 1 touchdown. Had a couple games ago or 3 games ago, 2 touchdowns, and hasn't had one since. Washington, Jaden Daniels seems like he's hesitating to me lately. It feels like that he's not playing the same type of offensive game. I'm not sure if he's hurt or being scared of being hit or what's going on, but not utilizing his legs. Do we see McLaurin actually getting a touchdown? And obviously, with Dallas situation, can Commanders explode in this game?
Yeah, it's that rib issue, right? That he had knocked him out. He should have never played that week right after. I feel like if he would have taken that off, then last week would have been healthier in this week. So maybe the extra Friday, Saturday, Sunday that he got off because he last played not this past Thursday, the Thursday before, maybe that helped him heal just a little bit more. The problem that you have in this game is when it gets down to it, how much will they need to throw? Because I got a feeling Brian Robinson is going to go nuts in this game. He's been dying to get back at it. And they have a tandem backfield, Eckler reborn. So I feel like they could just lean on these two and Terry won't really be needed. I hope he scores one. And so I'm going to go Larry Verse on this one. I'm going to say no. McLaurin does not get a touchdown.
All right. You know, what's funny is that I actually started with Brian Robinson Jr. here as the yes or no touchdown. Then I switched it to Eckler on over receptions for this. And then now I landed at Terry McLaurin. So it's funny that you mentioned those 3 names because those are the 3 guys that I actually chose. All right. On the flip side, I have to. He was so big last week for them.
Dude, they played like listen, timeout.
Being picked up everywhere.
Dude, I was so freaking angry at this game. I had Jalen Tolbert prop, right? 2.5 catches, 25.5 yards. He wound up with 2 for 20. Cooper Rush throws the ball 55 times, throws to guys that no one's ever heard of other than their parents. And Jalen Tolbert catches 2 passes. He was basically running cardio the entire game, just sprinting down the field. Every freaking time Schoonmaker or the other guy with the hyphenated last name that people still don't know his name, these guys are catching passes. I'm like, what are you doing? And then the final drive of the game, they didn't play CD, they didn't play Tolbert, but you played Turpin and everybody else. You couldn't have put Tolbert out there and threw him a gimme. I'm so angry. I don't care what this is. Under.
All right. Just to announce it for our Spotify people, it is over under Luke Schoonmaker, 7.5 fantasy points, half PPR. He is going the under. It's so fun. I had to because literally I'm seeing questions. Do I start Shoemaker since Ferguson's out?
Here's the thing. Last year, early on, we were like Shoemaker. He was doing all right.
Bad,
for a rookie, we're like he's doing pretty good, and he might hit this number. But they were literally playing. I felt like 4 different tight ends.
Yeah.
So I feel like you're going to see at least 2 of them this week, and I don't think he's going to be the only guy. They realized they could throw the ball to Turpin. He doesn't have to just be their return guy. Cooper Rush obviously liked him, and everybody else on the freaking team. So I'm going to go under. This is basically, is he going to catch a touchdown? No. So I'm going to go under. I'm not going to play Shoemaker. It's just too ridiculous. When you throw 55 passes, and granted, CD had a good amount. But even Ferguson, like before he went down, he was just targeting just randos. And I don't know. I'm going to say under out of hatred.
All right, we'll go through one more game and then we'll get to those questions. Minnesota Vikings at Chicago Bears, staying with tight ends. Over under Mr. Hockenson. 30.5 receiving yards. Oliver is out, so does that help the situation? But Darnold hasn't been the greatest. His offense seems to be stifling. Jefferson's still getting yardage. Addison's still doing, I guess, mediocre at best. But actually probably playing better than a lot of these other guys. What do you think as far as Hawk on 38.5 receiving yards?
Darnold doing what I thought, turning into a pumpkin slowly but surely. Bears defense is good. It's not going to be too windy in the Windy City. So that's a good thing. The wind is more on the East Coast than in the Midwest there. With Oliver out, this is going over. It's going over because the only reason he wasn't hitting this number is because Darnold had a crush on Oliver. I feel like every single time I'm watching the game, Oliver.
Remember how big you were on Josh Oliver?
Way back, yeah.
Way back in the day.
They needed him, but it was before the Jags had Evan Ingram. And look at what Evan Ingram basically became with a healthy Trevor Lawrence.
Oh, yeah.
That Josh Oliver was supposed to be, but he couldn't do it. And
all right, so we're going on the over on this one. On the flip side, Chicago Bears. We saw a little bit of a resurgence from DJ Moore last week. Obviously, we saw the change in offense. What are we thinking here against the Vikings defense, who has given up some points, but could be very good when they want to be as far as a defensive standpoint? Over under DJ Moore, 4.5 receptions.
I'm going to go over. The Bears were a team I despise. I've fallen into this trap before. They had a good showing last week. I think they continue it. The Vikings are the secondary to do it against. So it's going to be tough for them to run. And I think that DJ Moore, let's hope that last week was a positive step for him and for them. So 4.5, I think you can get it. Because I do think the Vikings can be able to score. They have too many playmakers.
All right, let's get into some more questions here. Justin with a question: Sutton versus the Raiders or Downs versus the Lions?
I like both, Justin. I think Downs will be more needed, obviously, based on the opponent. And I also think that Downs is playing against the worst secondary. But I'm going to go with Sutton. He's just super consistent. His quarterback is just getting better each and every week. And when they play against average to below average competition, Bo Nix is just on fire. And his only real down games were when he had to play juggernauts. And even against them, he, as of late, has been good. His last real bad game was the game that I saw coming, which was against Baltimore. Sutton's involved. He's the number one, unquestioned. Not to say Downs isn't, but I'm going with Sutton inside in Vegas. Give him to me.
All right, Gerard with a question here. PPR, need a wide receiver and flex Downs, Ridley, Jennings, Rachaad White.
I'm going to go with White and Ridley.
All
I mean,
right.
the way Ridley's been producing this past couple weeks, Levis obviously has a nice eye for him. And the ground game in New Jersey for Rashad White going against the Giants, I think it's going to be big this week. It's going to be quite windy there. The Jennings thing with Allen, he's the backup. Jennings, he was a first teamer, but he was the number 3. So maybe he had some practice squad reps, but that was way long ago because Jennings has been with the starters always. I mean, even when he wasn't. Juwan Jennings has been my dude for like 2 years on the show. And in real life. So, but with the backup quarterback, I'm just going to go with the 2 more consistent options on teams with less playmakers. So Ridley and White.
All right, Braden with a question here. What's your
And I did
deeper
see
take-
Downs there. I didn't talk about Downs, but I'm going to still go Ridley and White.
What's your deeper take on Kansas City's backfield rest of season? Do you think they go by committee?
I think you might see Hunt splash in on some third downs here or there, but they're going to ease Pacheco into it. And I'm not surprised he's not playing this week. Like I said earlier in the week, they asked a question about, I don't remember who it was, but somebody or Pacheco. And I was just like, I wouldn't play Pacheco regardless this week going against Carolina. The matchup's easy, but they have no reason to push it with him. So another week he's held out, and we'll see how next week comes and goes. But I think that you've got some value with Hunt at least the first time that Pacheco's activated. But Pacheco's going to be the main guy, but they'll use just like they have done in the past. They'll use 2. It's not a committee by any means, though. Pacheco will be the guy, and they'll sub in somebody on third down or a series here or there. Hunt's not going to be worthless, but Pacheco will be the one to own. So far as he comes back and he's 80% of himself.
Yeah. All right, going with the last question here that we have for the time being. JK, Bucky, or Eckler? Thanks, guys. Well, thank you, Frogs, for watching.
I feel like Eckler is a safe one, but I'm going Bucky. I really like him coming back this week off a bye. Just that toe a week healthier with nobody messing with him, running angrily against the Giants. I like Bucky, and he catches passes. Sean Tucker, as expected, has gone to the wayside. All that talk of Sean Tucker and the people that went nuts on the Fab, it's him and his White. And I'm going to go with him. And I know, JK, you have a shot with Monday Night Magic. They were giving the ball to Hassan Haskins last week, 3 plays in a row, trying to get him going. They're trying to get somebody else going. And going against the Eagles, I don't want to ride on that train. So I'm going with Bucky.
All right. Jumping back into the games here. Kansas City Chiefs at the Carolina Panthers. We're talking about them before.
Yeah.
Over under Kareem Hunt, 87.5 total yards. Obviously, we mentioned Pacheco is out. Seems like a very good matchup going against Carolina. But you know what? Carolina's won 2 in a row. And coming off a bye week, I don't know, man. What do you think? Could this be a trap game for Kansas City?
He is not very efficient. He has not been efficient this year. He's somewhere around 3 yards a carry, but he gets a ton of carries. And he's the only one worth writing home about. And this is total yards. There'll be some dump offs. I mean, he could easily get to a 55-35 split here to get us well over the number. If not 60-30 with receiving. I'm going to go over. And I think he gets a touchdown this week as well.
All right. On the flip side, seeing this name everywhere, Miles Sanders going on IR now.
Yeah.
Over under Jonathan Brooks going to make his debut, 16.5 rushing yards. Thought this was kind of low, but Kansas City defense playing pretty good. Do they ease the kid in? Obviously, Chuba's been playing fantastic. What do you think?
Yeah, I'll be interested to see how they use him. He might wind up being that Miles Sanders role, that more of a pass catching back. 16 and a half, he's going to have to bust one. 5 carries. Could he get 3.5? Tough. I'll put him at 7 carries, so I think he'll go over. I think he'll get 7 carries, probably a few targets. But I think with those 7 carries, even if he averages 3 apiece, it puts him over. So let's go over.
All right,
Is that an actual prop?
That was an actual prop there, sir.
I might take that one.
I did take that one.
I think I'm going to take that.
I took the over on it as well. I thought he would probably have about 10 total touches. I'm not sure how the splits would be. I know it's rushing yards.
7 carries, 3 targets.
Yeah, so I thought the same exact concept. You're right. I think if he can get a good 6-7 yard rush, that gets to you easily with the touches he should be getting. So.
Yep.
All right. 4:00 games. Denver Broncos at the Las Vegas Raiders. We were talking about Bo Nix before. You had mentioned, hey, the Baltimore game seemed like it was a trap game, but it's been playing very well. Sean Payton's found his Drew Brees pretty much again. It seems like the way he's playing. 245.5 total yards, passing and rushing. What do you think as far as Bo Nix here? You said you liked Sutton earlier in a question.
I'll tell you what I like in this game. And I'm glad, well, not glad, but surprised, but not surprised who you picked for the Broncos. Sean Payton did what Sean Payton does. And 2 weeks ago, you saw the writings on the wall before the game. And then after the game, the writing was clear. Audric Estime was taking over the backfield. And then what does he do? Nope. Javonte Williams is the starter and gets the majority of the carries. Now, it's a hot-hand approach. He did look good. I'm going to tell you what, Audric Estime is going to look good in this one. Just when you think it's safe to play Javonte Williams, Audric Estime. That's why in the lineups where I needed Estime last week, I have another guy on bye this week. I'm keeping him in because I feel it. I feel like it's going to be early and often for Estime. It's just the Sean Payton way. Bo Nix, he's going over this number. Because it's total. He'll get the rushing yards. He'll get enough to put him over. He's going to get 35 rushing yards. He'll get over 210 passing.
All right. On the flip side, over under Jacoby Myers and 11.5 fantasy points, full PPR. Obviously, Bowers is the guy over there. Minshew seems to be slinging it still, man. They still like to put up points. Obviously, this Denver defense is pretty good. What are you thinking as far as from a Jacoby Myers standpoint?
Is Surtain going to try and mess with Bowers?
I think he has to. I think they have to.
If he tries that, then Myers gets loose on one. I gotta feel like, and maybe not because we've seen coaching for the Raiders, but we liked Pierce until everybody didn't now. And Minshew himself has to be thinking, if I see Surtain leave Myers and worry about Bowers, I know I've got a shot in Myers deep. If they can connect on one deep ball, he's going to have a day. I'm going to take the over. He'll pepper him with targets, even if they're short. He's the most consistent beside Bowers. I'm interested to see the rookie, Mr. Dylan Lobb, or Lobby, whatever you want. Loeb. I'm interested to see. A lot of people thinking it's going to be Abdullah. I think Abdullah stays as the third down back. But Mr. Loeb could be a 3-down back. He was a 3-down back in college. That's why they picked him up. He's had 1 carry so far this year. It was a fumble. I think that was way back in like week 3. Mm-hmm. And now it's going to be his chance. And what a great defense to do it against, right? It's one of the best in the league, if not the best. Go ahead, kid. So I'm interested to see how he does.
It's like the Carson Steele mentality almost in a way that he has that opportunity to be able to, hey, let me show you something against one of the better defenses.
Yeah. So if you're short on running backs, pick him up tonight. If he stinks, maybe the other guys get healthy and you could drop him. But if he doesn't, you got yourself a gold mine heading into the playoffs. because it's not going to be Zamir White. And as good as some of you, and he has at times, but Madison, I don't think he's in their long-term plans. So,
yeah, seeing Madison being dropped in a lot of places, man. All right. Next game here. Arizona Cardinals at the Seattle Seahawks. Over under Trey McBride, 5.5 receptions. Arizona coming off the bye. What are we thinking? And they have to play, I think, as hard as possible. Seattle plays pretty well, man. They looked okay last week. Do we see the Cardinals being able to move the ball? You had mentioned MHJ. You didn't take him in when somebody else with some other options. Do we see Trey McBride getting 5.5 receptions?
5.5 is a tough number. He hits that number with ease at most times. I'm going to say over, but I wouldn't be surprised if he lands at 5. I will say he scores his first touchdown this week. I do see that coming. It's been all year long, and I do think Seattle focuses, and they should focus more on McBride, but I think they focus on Harrison and taking him out. They're a little bit better at stopping that top wide out than a tight end. So I'm going to say McBride scores a touchdown this week. He might wind up with 5 receptions. It's all going to depend on – we saw the Arizona Cardinals defense looking a heck of a lot better. And if that continues, it's going to stifle Seattle's offense. And I've been saying it. I don't think it's ever going to happen. You know, I don't think it'll ever get to the point where we see Sam Howell. But if Seattle's offense at home can do some things and break through this Cardinals defense, which they probably could, DK's back a little bit healthier. The McBride should have no problem clearing this number, maybe even doubling it up.
Ooh, I like that. All right. Going on to the flip side here. DK Metcalf, over under 67.5 receiving yards. Had a pretty good game last week. Obviously, Njigba had the bigger game, but still, between the both of them, I think they had like maybe 18 or 19 catch, something to that effect.
Yeah.
Do we see him going over this receiving yards against you? Like you just said, the Arizona defense hasn't playing half bad, especially, I know, coming off the bye week, but the week before playing against the Jets and pretty much just putting them out.
I wouldn't be surprised if he winds up in the low 60s. I hope he goes over. I'm going to say under.
All right. Going on to the last 4 o'clock game here. San Francisco 49ers at the Green Bay Packers. You had mentioned Deebo Samuel not having a good game last week. Yes or no, will he score a touchdown with Brandon Allen at the quarterback position? Do they do an end around or something like that to get him more involved to be able to get a touchdown? Am I right? I see you pointing at me. Am I right?
That's the touchdown he scores. A rushing touchdown.
All right. I like it. I like it. And then on the flip side, Josh Jacobs been getting the ball a lot, it seems like, for the Packers. Killing it right now as far as that, helping them to get some victories here. Do we see over-under for Josh Jacobs on 72.5 rushing yards against the San Francisco 49ers defense that they don't look the same, man?
Bosa's out, right?
I believe Bosa is out, but let me just double check.
I think he is. Yeah, over. Why? Because I think the Packers defense is, again, I've been saying it for weeks now. I saw different things very early in the season, weeks 4 and 5. This defense just doesn't seem like the Packers defense of old. And I just think we've seen Brandon Allen have the success. You know, he came in. You remember back to the Cam Newton commercial with the little blonde-haired kid who's like, I'm going to take it. That was Brandon Allen, right? So we've seen him come in and have success, and people are like, oh, Brandon Allen. So he's not a pushover by any means, but I think this Packers defense helps control the game, and I think as long as Jordan Love doesn't make some stupid mistakes, they're going to be able to waste this one away on the ground. So I like him over this number.
All right, I got it for the over here. All right, remember, guys, always like, comment, and share. We appreciate you guys tuning in, and we appreciate everybody that is constantly commenting onto our Facebook group. as well as subscribing onto YouTube. All right, going on Sunday Night Football here. Philadelphia Eagles at the Los Angeles Rams. Over under A.J. Brown, 14.5 fantasy points, half PPR. Devonta Smith out. Goddard playing better, but obviously it's the Barkley and Jalen Hurts show, it seems like. Is this a high number for fantasy points for A.J. Brown, or can he do this against this Rams defense?
Oh, he'll do this. I mean, that's 80 and a touchdown with one catch. And he could hypothetically get that
right
on one
play.
catch.
Yeah.
I'm going over.
I like the over on that. You know, it's funny. I had Goddard here originally. I didn't want to do it because of one okay game. I got maybe two.
I don't hate
games, but
because Smith is out. I don't hate him.
Yeah, I actually picked him up. I think he was at maybe 39.5 earlier in the week as far as a prop. I think he's up to like 46.5 now, but I got him at 39.5. It was pretty nice. All right. Philadelphia Eagles at Los Angeles Rams. Like I had mentioned, over under for Matthew Stafford, 1.5 passing touchdowns, coming off of a 4-touchdown game. Kupp had the bigger game. What are you thinking as far as these guys, and can they throw against this Philly defense that's been pretty damn good, man?
If this game was in Philly, I'd go under. It's in Los Angeles. I'm going over.
Who's he throwing them to?
He'll get 3.
Kyron, one of them?
Yep.
All right. And now going on to the last but not least Monday Night Football game, Baltimore Ravens at the Los Angeles Chargers. Over under Zay Flowers, you had mentioned them before, 4.5 receptions going against this tough Chargers defense. What are you thinking as far as will they be able to move the ball, or is this going to be more of a Derrick Henry kind of Justin Hill type of game?
Sooner or later, these morons are going to start throwing the ball to Deontay Johnson. Maybe not. So I'm going to go over because Flowers is like the Antonio Brown of old for the Ravens. The way he just catches it and jumps around, and he's just zip, zip, zip. And it just reminds me of Antonio Brown from years ago. And which, to bring it full circle, you remember back on this show when Deontay Johnson was a rookie, I'm like, this dude reminds me of early Antonio Brown, but they traded for him. Did they trade for him so nobody else could get him? It just, I don't know. It stinks. If I was still doing the halftime adjustments this season, and if you haven't noticed, I haven't been doing them. We're in crunch time and busy time, but Deontay Johnson would have been a 5 guy to despise. And the Ravens would have been one as well for not using it.
Yeah, pretty much.
Doesn't make any sense. Whatever, I digress. He's going over this number. Chargers defense, top 5 defense in the league this year. But they're going to have to throw the ball because they will focus in on Henry. And Flowers plays the short ball, he plays the deep ball. Getting the 5 receptions, he's the best they got. Bateman's more of a shot guy. They don't use Deontay. And Tylan Wallace is so 3 years ago for me. So I don't even mention his name.
All right, just give you a heads up. You sound a little muffled. I don't know if it's my side or if it's your side, but just wanted to give you a heads up.
That's all right.
Oh, maybe there it is.
Put on subtitles.
All right, last one here. I had to put him here. I had to.
Yeah, he's going to. It's like it's not even a question because he
last 3 games has had a touchdown. Quentin Johnston. Do you think he will get a touchdown again? Like you said, Herbert's been playing pretty damn good. Everybody said this is a run and defense team. He's been throwing it, and then they've been throwing and catching touchdowns over there. It seems like. Yes or no?
Ever since their week 5 bye, they've come out. They've been slinging around more and more each and every week, and they're going against a secondary that's just terrible. Hasn't been able to stop anybody. I actually just dropped them in the ABG league. Basically, swapped them out for the Colts because I like their season, their schedule at the end of the season. The Colts, the Chargers are my starting defense. So he's going to get a touchdown. Because when they get close and if and when they're far, I mean, he's looking for Johnson and Quentin Johnston. And and you forgot the T in there.
Quentin Johnston. You're right,
Johnston. But yeah, we like McConkey. Disley, your boy, has been doing his thing. But Palmer is just like, which is so strange to me because he was always Herbert's favorite. And I don't know. Johnston hasn't really even been great. He looks more like a football player this year. I said that before a week or two ago, and it's nice to see he gets a touchdown every week. So yes, I'm going to say he gets one this week. This game will be more of a high scoring game through the air for both teams.
Ooh, that'd be fun. All right. That's all we have as far as that. I think another question came here. Corey, what's up there, bud? If you haven't subscribed, please make sure you do. Start 2 PPR, Bateman, Alec Pierce, Valet, Westbrook Akina, Noah Brown, Amir Abdullah.
Speaking of, all he does is score touchdowns.
Akina, right?
Nick Westbrook, Chris Carter, Akine. I mean, that's all he does. Mr. Ickheim himself. I feel like every single week, when you least expect it, there he is, Westbrook Akine scoring a touchdown. He's either wide open in the end zone or he's running 75 yards, just dusting people. And it's like, this guy is unbelievable, but he can never amount to anything other than every week or two, just random things throughout the season. It's rather unbelievable. I can never recommend players I hate. And I don't know if I hate him or if I just hate that you could call him Ickheim. Pierce has fallen out of a little bit of favor, but he's not completely dead. I like Devon. Yeah, the whole I can see why you have all these guys on your list. The Abdullah thing, I think it's going to be more of the rookie Laub. But he's going to be their third down guy, and they're going to have to use him. And we've seen years where out of nowhere Abdullah just has one really good game because there's nobody else available. And they're going to use him in the passing game. They're going to use him on the ground. He's going to be needed. Gosh, this is gross. I like Valet the most out of all these guys, but I'm going to go with Ickheim and Abdullah. Oh, God, I just threw up in my mouth.
Yeah. It's funny. Noah Brown just keeps on popping in my head. I just feel like
I know.
Defense, I think, can give up something. And Noah Brown seems like that guy that can be out. Okay, I'm going to catch it over the middle and then run to the corner for a touchdown type of thing. But you have to get a play like that for Noah Brown for it to count.
Here's two things. One, when you had the ABG3P for McLaurin, I was going to say I feel like Noah Brown will get a touchdown because I said no to McLaurin, and it's a revenge game because he used to play for the Cowboys. So true. If you want to go off of Ickheim and go with Noah Brown, or if you want to just go with Ickheim and Brown instead of Abdullah, I'm fine with that as well. But yeah, let's put Noah Brown in because I do like that and the revenge game aspect. And I was going to say I do think he scores a touchdown. Westbrook Akine scores a touchdown every single week. I'd be fine with both wide receivers, to be honest, and just leaving Abdullah down there because we just don't know how good Dylan Laub is going to be. He might be so good and render Abdullah useless, or it could be the complete opposite.
It's going to be an interesting one. All right, let's go on to the next one here. Josue with the question, Herbert or Daniels in a 4-point passing, 6-point rushing touchdown? What do you think?
I think if it was me and I was Corey Miller, I would play Abdullah and Noah Brown because I can't recommend a player I don't like, and that's Nick Westbrook Akina.
All right, sorry. Go back to that one, and then now this one, please.
Where am I? Oh.
Herbert and Daniels in a 4-point passing and then 6-point rushing touchdown. My bad.
You know what? I'm going Herbert.
Ooh, Herbert.
You know why? Because he's got a game where he's probably going to have to throw more, and he has been running quite a bit. and Daniels has not. And that's a game also where Washington might be able to throw that touchdown to Noah Brown and get down the field and punch it in if they get close enough a bunch of times with their two running backs. I really like Robinson this week. Eckler's just fine. They'll need less of Daniels, whereas I think the Chargers will need more of Herbert. So I'm going to go with Herbert.
All right. And this guy, make sure you subscribe this guy. Would you guys mind discussing starting Love or Baker this week? I don't want to get this one wrong. Thanks for watching.
Listen, Love, I'm a Green Bay Packers fan, this guy, and it's well documented on the show. My love-hate relationship with Love. I was ready for Rodgers to be gone and Love to take over. But early on last season, he just looked terrible. He was super inaccurate. And then he got on that hot streak towards the end of the year last year. And when this season began, it was just like, I don't know, that hot streak sort of wore off, and just seeing some dumb things. Then he got hurt, and I was kind of excited. You can go back to like week 2. I'm like, yeah, let's go. Malik Willis. He's going to do smart things with the football. I was all about Malik Willis in the offseason. I have been even going back last season when he was with Tennessee. And when Love came back, kind of everybody felt like a week early. I was kind of like, I don't know. I kind of feel like we should just go with Willis, and Love played like crap. And he just makes these stupid throws, like when they played against Detroit and he's getting sacked and he just throws the guy so he could run in for a 5-yard pick six. But this week, and I like Baker this week, the wins for the Giants. I know Baker's been hot, but they had the bye week, and sometimes the bye week will cool you off. But the wins in MetLife this week are enough for me to go with Love. I also think Love playing against the Niners at home after last season's crushing defeat. I think he's going to be focused in this one. I think the team as a whole is going to be focused. I'm going to go with Love over Baker this week. And as a Green Bay Packer fan and one who studies their tape quite more intently than other teams when I rewatch games each week, this one I have a really good feeling about Love this week. And usually if I don't, I'll flat out say I don't like him this week. I don't like it. But I think they're ready. I think he's going to have his head on straight. I think it's going to be nothing but smart plays and decisions out of Love. And there's no wind like there's going to be in New Jersey.
All right, Josue with one here. Thoughts on Roschon over Dobbins if Swift is out?
Yeah, I like that. It's very tough. It's very tough because Minnesota is tough on the ground, but so are the Eagles. And like we talked about, like they're trying to get anybody and everybody going other than Dobbins for whatever reason. Now, this doesn't mean they don't like Dobbins, but they're trying out other pieces. And it was clear last week that Chicago was trying to get Roschon as many touches as they possibly could. And he's already getting and punching in those goal line ones. So if they get close, he's getting those. Whereas if the Chargers get close, I think they're going to go to Gus. So I would be 100% fine with that. Roschon can catch passes too.
He can. Dude, Roschon's a 3-down back in my opinion. He just doesn't get the love that he's supposed to get over there in Chicago.
I would do that 100%. I would do that.
Right. And this guy, he likes that revenge narrative based on what you said for Love against San Fran.
I feel like when the schedule came out, this was one that the Packers circled. They said, we blew it last year. We should have had the Niners. We should have been, playing against the Lions to see who goes to the Super Bowl. And we blew it. And this is one we're going to get right. And I just think that he's going to be smart with the ball. He's going to be focused, and the whole team is going to be right there with him. I like Love this week.
All right. So I forgot to put the presentation here for the questions from the group. So I am going to ask you to either, do we want to try to bring it up quickly over here on the side, or will you just answer them on the Facebook group? I have the questions here by me.
Let's just read them to me. That's fine.
All right. So questions from the group. I got one from Scott Thomas. As if the bye weeks wasn't bad enough, Purdy is out. So sit Jennings for a doomsday. A doomsday? I can never say it right. I always want to add a D at the end.
Doomsday.
Doomsday. Loeb.
I don't know. Yeah, I'd be fine with either one. They're so close. Brandon Allen is going to have people to throw to that he feels safe about, and it's going to be CMC, Kittle, and Jennings, because I really think that the Debo and CMC running the ball. I think Pearsall, unless he breaks through with one this week, will take the back seat once again. I'll go with a doomsday because the chemistry is there. They built upon it. He should have gotten a little bit more last week. And it's a game where I think Minnesota is going to be able to score. And their secondary is just terrible. So I'm going to go with them. I'm going to go with the doomsday. I'm fine with that.
All right. We had one more here from Josue. With Devonta Smith is out. I have to decide now between Dell or Dobbins in his second flex spot, half PPR.
Yeah. Like Dell, how much is he going to need him? You might be better off with Dobbins, but I kind of want to play Dell. But you might be better just saving your Monday Night Magic just in case.
I would probably go Dobbins in the situation of if they get close, at least you're getting the touchdown. Dell, it's a more risky for that touchdown. Baltimore tends to give up, so a little screen pass to Dobbins could end up being a big play for a touchdown.
I'm fine with that. And I know that Jeremy had a question too, if you could see it. There's something about his three. I think it was Hawkinson, Henry, and I don't know if his third tight end was Kittle.
I think it is Kittle, if I'm not mistaken, if it's the same ones that he's mentioned in the past.
Kittle's a Green Bay killer. If it's Kittle, I'll say Kittle. If it's not, I'm going to say Henry. Don't mind Hawkinson, as we talked about in ABG 3P. But I do think Henry scores this week, and Kittle is a backup quarterback's best friend. So Kittle, Henry, Hawkinson, that's my order. I don't hate any of them this week.
I'm actually writing that. Don't hate any, but chose
Kittle. He's pumped up for this game, too. I don't think he likes Green Bay very much.
All right. That makes it easier. And then I did have another question that did pop up here. Romeo Doubs or Will Disley? I'm going Diz, baby. You know my man Will Disley's been looking great. Monday Night Magic, too. So
I'm going to go with Doubs. I think he's going to be right in the middle of that Green Bay smart day.
All right. And that was the last question from the group. I will make sure to go back and type those answers. That's my bad for not being able to put it on there. But hopefully you guys are watching this so that you can get your answers as well. These are the questions from the group.
Yeah, instant.
Guess.
Yeah.
That's it, friend. What are you thinking? Anything else as far as final thoughts here?
Beginning of the end, like I said in the intro, 1 down, 4 to go. I am mathematically eliminated from one league, but I'm not giving up in that one league. I'm playing a lineup. I'm making roster moves, and we can win a consolation tourney to get pick choice next season. And even if we weren't, it wouldn't matter. You paid money, you're playing it out.
Spoiler.
Yeah, so that's my thing. And then the other ones, I'm fighting for the 1 seed. I mean, in the ABG league, I'm in the last playoff spot now, but I can get up close to the top. Two of the leagues, I'm right there, number one. So this season's got a long way to go. We're in the final third. I like to break it into quarters, though. So another week after this week, we'll be in the fourth quarter, essentially, almost, right? Because now we got 17 weeks.
Yeah.
All right. So
all right, guys.
Good luck. Keep it going. It's going to be a good one. Oh, and we'll probably be doing a show Wednesday.
Yeah, Wednesday we'll take for the whole
entire week.
Yep.
So this upcoming Wednesday, the night before Thanksgiving, we'll be covering the Thanksgiving games, the Black Friday game, and the Sunday games. We're going to do it all on Wednesday. So the answers will be mostly on a Wednesday before we know too much, because it'll be one day of practice. So you'll have to join the Facebook group, ask some questions in there, or ask some questions on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe, and we'll get them answered Thursday, Friday, and Saturday leading into Sunday. But if you're here tonight, you get the first word Wednesday night for week 13. But let's worry about week 12 first. Let's get that W, and best of luck. That's it.
Okay. Excellent, guys. Always look for those hashtags, answers by guests, ABGFF, and for this one, ABG3P. Again, we're going over the bye weeks: Atlanta Falcons, Buffalo Bills, Cincinnati Bengals, Jacksonville Jaguars, New Orleans Saints, and New York Jets. Get them out of your lineups if they're in. We appreciate every single one of you. Inside scoop from outside the box. Thanks, peeps.
See ya.
Peace.